What's up, Fuggers? Today we're looking at some new cards revealed for Hearthstone, but before we get into that, if you want to be a Fugger, subscribe to my channel down below, and while you're down there, drop a like and hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date on all my new content, which I release every week. It's absolutely free and painless to subscribe, and you can always unsubscribe later, so please, every single one of your subscriptions counts. Also, make sure you watch through to the end so you can hear my special announcement. Anyway, let's get into some card reviews.
What's up, Fuggers?
Alright guys, our first card up here is Idol's Adoration for Priest. It's a new 1-mana weapon, a 0/2 weapon. This is your hero power costs 0. After you use it, lose 1 durability. Now, I don't think this card is actually very good at all. 2 durability on this means you get 2 free hero powers. This is kind of good in Shadow Priest, but Benedictus is rotating, and in Wild, I don't think you ever spend a card on 2 pings. Outside of that, Priest has, like, the worst hero power in the game, so you really don't want 2 free hero powers in other Priest decks, and in Raza Priest, you already run Raza. I really struggle to see where this card is trying to fit into, unless they're going to print some kind of Priest minion or neutral minion that makes your weapon not lose durability. There's no way to me that this sees any kind of play. Our next card up here is another Priest card, 2-mana 1/2 Naga, called Dreamboat, that says Battle Cry, restore 3 health to all friendly minions, gain +1/+1 for each overhealed. Now this card is pretty insane because there's already cards seeing play that are similar to this that do 3 mana to heal your whole board for 3. Now admittedly that card that is seeing play also heals 6 to every minion on your board later in the game with its mana thirst, but the upside of gaining +1/+1 for each character overhealed is definitely really juicy here. I think it's going to see some play, especially because Naga Priest is already a deck, and this just slots really nicely into that. Last up for Priest here, we have Heartthrob, a new 3-mana 2/5 minion that says Overheal, summon a random minion with cost equal to the amount overhealed. It's also an undead, so this might see play in the undead Priest. Like I said before, Benedictus is rotating, so we're gonna see more holy spells in the undead Priest potentially because it does not have that restriction anymore. So it's entirely possible that we see some healing spells included to take advantage of cards like this. Now, it is a random minion of that cost, so it's not ever a guarantee that this is going to see play because it's random. There's a chance that it's just too much RNG and Priest can do better stuff. But I do think in a 4-set meta that this is especially compelling, and I do think it's something to look at least. Alright, our next card here is JIVE Insect for Shaman. It's the 5-mana legendary spell that says transform a minion into Ragnaros the Fire Lord, Overload 2. Now this card is really cool from a flavor standpoint because I just really like Ragnaros. It's a really good flavor, it's a really good character, and it's a really good pun on his iconic line. And I think this card is also going to be really powerful because 5 mana to transform a minion into Ragnaros is already really good. That overload is obviously going to be a drawback a lot of the time, but the fact that you can play this early means that you can get that Ragnaros out on board quickly, which means that it's going to be that much more effective at that point in the game. I also think that there's potential combos now that this card exists, because you have that 5-mana card that reduces the cost of your overload cards, so you can reduce the cost of this and Criminal Lineup, and then you can use that weapon to make JIVE Insect free, and then you can copy it with Criminal Lineup and just get a board full of Ragnaros. That seems like an actual combo that might happen in Standard. Alright, our next card here is Tambourine. It's a 4-mana weapon for Druid that's a 2/3 that says Death Rattle, summon 1/5/5 Ancient, play cards that cost 5 or more while equipped to improve. Now this actually seems pretty insane to me because summoning a whole board of 5/5s is actually really powerful, and Druid can ramp, so you can potentially do this pretty early. Now obviously you have to play cards that cost 5 or more to get more Ancients, so it's not like you can ramp it really quickly, but even 3 5/5s is pretty good. There's also another notable thing about this, which is that it is a weapon for Druid that is not legendary, which means that now you can play Twig of the World Tree and break it with Sphere or Timber Tambourine. This is probably going to break Druid and Wild. It's a lot weaker than Sphere, obviously, but it's still a really strong combo when you can break Twig, so it's probably going to be really powerful. Alright, our next card here is Summer Flowerchild, a 5-mana 4/5 for Druid that says Battle Cry, draw 2 cards that cost 6 or more. Finale, they cost 1 less. Now this card to me looks pretty ridiculous. Drawing 2 cards on a 5-mana 4/5 is pretty strong, to be honest. I think this is really good. And it draws you your biggest cards too, so you can play this in like an aggro deck and make sure you're drawing your finishers and stuff instead of your little 1-drops and 2-drops. It also has the bonus of mana cheating a little bit by reducing the cost of them. Now, obviously that's not going to make a huge difference a lot of the time, but in certain decks that might make it so that you can play this and then a 6-mana card in the same turn. Overall, it definitely looks like a card that I would play in Druid, so I definitely think this is going to see play. Last up here, we have Drum Circle, a new choose 1 card for Druid. It's a 7-mana nature spell that says choose 1, summon 5/2/2 Treants, or give your minions +2/+4 and taunt. The unfortunate thing about this is that I think 7 mana is just definitely too slow. 7 mana summon 5 Treants is pretty good value, but the board buff makes me want to put this in like an aggro deck or something, but the price makes that pretty impossible. There's a chance that there's something like we saw during the Rise of Shadows meta and Savior of Uldum meta, where there was that token Druid deck that relied on just summoning wave after wave of boards. That could be possible, but I don't think we have quite the reload as they did then. They had that 8-mana twin spell, so it was able to play 2 full boards of Treants. That was a lot more powerful than this. I do think, though, in Wild, not that this deck is good, but in the quest deck from Uldum, this is going to be pretty good, because you get both halves of this, and it becomes a board of 4/6 Treants with Taunt. That's pretty insane. Also, I'm probably going to try this card in Treant Druid because it's one of my favorite decks in Wild. Even though it's not that great, I just really like to toy with the deck. Alright, our next card up here is Lead Dancer, a new card for Big Paladin. It's a 6-mana 4/2 with Death Rattle. Summon a minion from your deck with less attack than this minion. I don't know if this card is going to be that good, to be honest. It reminds me of Cowardly Grunt, and that card wasn't very good in Warrior. Now, Big Paladin has been more viable than Big Warrior has in the past, but I still don't think this is that great. I mean, maybe I'm not seeing it. Maybe I need to look at minions a bit more. But a lot of the really good cards that this could hit, like Batterhead and Terralion, aren't standard cards. And in Wild, I just definitely think that 6 mana is too slow for an effect like this. So maybe there's something there, maybe I'm just not seeing it, and maybe there will be more support printed to make this make more sense. But based on historical precedents, I just think cards like this typically don't make it. Alright, our next card here is Annoy-o-Troupe, a huge 9-mana 3/6 for Paladin that's a Taunt Divine Shield mech with Death Rattle, summon 3 1/2 mechs with Taunt and Divine Shield. So that's summoning 3 Annoy-o-Trons. We know what Annoy-o-Tron is. It's been in Standard for a while, and there's a lot of mech decks playing it, so everybody who plays Hearthstone should be aware of Annoy-o-Tron right now. Now, this is also a card that a lot of people have suggested on Custom Hearthstone because it's a natural evolution from Void Lord to create an Annoy-o Lord, which is what most people tended to call it, I believe. It's at least what I always called the idea. But Annoy-o-Troupe is just as good of a name for it, and it's definitely a really cool minion, so I really like that it exists. It's also going to be really annoying, as its name suggests, to get through. Now, I don't think any decks are going to just play this straight up, so I do think its only chance of success is going to be in Big Paladin. So I think it kind of hinges on the Big Paladin cards being good, which we'll have to see about that. But this next card definitely gives me hope for that, because this next card is a really good way to cheat stuff out. Another thing I'd like to say about this, though, before we move on, is that it is a mech, which means that you can discover this off of Amalgam of the Deep, which means that it will probably pop up in more games than you'd think. Alright, and our last card for this reveal is going to be Kangor, Dancing King. Now this card looks pretty incredible, actually. So far I haven't shown a lot of hope for the Big Paladin stuff, but this one actually makes me really hopeful, because Big Paladin typically struggles against aggro, and what this does for you is it gives you a threat that's recurring with lifesteal that also gives your big minions lifesteal when it summons them. That just seems really insane to me as a way to catch up. And it's also a 5-mana way to cheat out minions out of your hand, which is cheap enough that it's coming out early enough in the game that it still matters. And it actually keeps happening because he goes back to your hand, he doesn't actually just get removed from the game. So you can play him again and keep cheating stuff out with lifesteal and keep healing up, so I think this has a potential to be really good. I also think because of that lifesteal upside that this actually has the potential to be good in some sort of mid-range paladin deck where you're just playing good enough minions with decent stats and trying to just get stuff cheated out and keep a free 3/3 going every time. I mean, I guess it's not free, it's 5 mana, but it gets you a free minion, so it's basically free as long as your minion's big enough. Alright, well that's it for the detailed reviews, so now let's get on to star ratings. Idol's Adoration is a 1-star card in Standard and Wild. Dreamboat is a 5-star card in Standard and a 3-star card in Wild. Heartthrob is a 4-star card in Standard and a 2-star card in Wild. JIVE Insect is a 4-star card in Standard and a 2-star card in Wild. Tambourine is a 5-star card in both Standard and Wild. Summer Flowerchild is a 4-star card in Standard and a 3-star card in Wild. Drum Circle is a 3-star card in Standard and a 2-star card in Wild. Lead Dancer is a 3-star card in Standard and a 1-star card in Wild. Annoy-o-Troupe is a 3-star card in Standard and a 2-star card in Wild. Kangor Dancing King is a 4-star card in Standard and a 2-star card in Wild. Well, there you go, guys. That wraps it up. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, remember to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date on all my new content, which I release every week. Also, since you made it to the end of the video, here's my announcement. Once I reach 100 subs on this channel, I'm going to be starting a new series, and I'm going to be putting a series of polls up on my Twitter for you guys to decide what game I play. So if there's something you want to watch me play, make sure you subscribe and follow me on Twitter so you can see those polls when they go live. Anyway, that's going to do it for today. Thank you for watching. Stay safe. Peace.